Software development is fundamentally a chaotic process. Predicting long-term is going to be very hard. It's almost an impossible goal. To come out with a plan at the start of the project and say, it will be finished in 2 years, I betcha it won't be. I'd like to tell you the story about how O&B adopted Agile. But before that, it's weird. It's a small world because there are some people here. Before I left for the US, I worked for a company called Computer Professionals Incorporated, and they assigned me to different projects. And I know that there was a time when I worked at UCPB, and I've also worked at Insular. I think there was this company, CPI built this non-life insurance software that a lot of insurance software companies here in the Philippines are using. I have a friend who used to work at Generali. So it's kind of weird that a lot of those companies are represented today. But before I start, just to give a brief background, I've been a developer for, as Kat said, 20 plus years. Unfortunately, I think it's probably more than, about 25 years now. So if the same reason that Wes was talking about the white hair and the receding hairline, you can see how much white hair I have. But before I discuss O&B, I'd like to tell you something about what I think I realized about software development over those 25 years. And it's a a segue, no? Parang punta muna tayo sa ibang section ng, it's not about software development. So my talk is about how we applied Agile technologies at O&B. But before we start talking about O&B, there's something about software that I realized, no? After developing for so long in it, after participating in so many software development projects. And the thing I'd like you to think about is this thing called chaos theory. I don't know if you've heard of it, no? I think kanina mentioned na, the report that Calen mentioned was called Chaos Report. And then sometime later, Rod mentioned something about chaos, no? Preventing chaos from touching the team. So you want to insulate your team from the chaotic pressures, no, of other people wanting something done. But precisely speaking, no, chaos theory refers to this. No? This is a graph of a mathematician said, okay, I'll try to model the weather. No? So yung weather, meron siyang gas equations. They call them, they simulate, they capture the properties of air and water and so on and so forth. And they came out with this formula. And then he modeled that formula in a computer, no? And if you notice, I don't know if you can see it, no? But basically, he ran this computer program once, and then he said, I'll do it again. I'll rerun it again. And then when he noticed was, I don't know if you start noticing, there's two, here it's just one line, no? Here is one line, and then after a little bit, it starts to diverge. So now you have two lines. So as time goes by, they start to diverge, no? So this property, parang nagtaka siya, bakit, how did that happen? Na I have a formula, I run it once, it does one thing, and then I have another, I run the same formula, tapos biglang magpapalit, it starts changing, it starts out the same, and then starts diverging. And it turned out that the reason was, it was because there was a difference in the starting value of 0.000127. So it's a very small number dun sa formula niya that caused the divergence. Yung conclusion niya was, if this is the formula that's used to predict yung temperature, no? For example, in predicting weather, no, what's the temperature today? No? Parang sabi niya, a very small change in the number can cause a very different prediction a few days from now. So ang point niya dun, this spells the end of ever us accurately predicting the weather. Yun yung conclusion niya. Kasi just a small, parang a little infinitesimal number, no? A change in that can cause a divergent change. So that led to this field of mathematics called chaos theory. So it's a field of mathematics that studies the behavior of dynamical systems that are highly sensitive to initial conditions. An effect which is popularly referred to as the butterfly effect. I think there was even a movie, no? Na a butterfly touches somebody in the shoulder, and that can cause an effect of a hurricane in thousands of miles away. So yun yung effect ng butterfly effect. It's like a small change can trigger large effects in others. No? So, why does this happen? Small differences in initial conditions, such as those due to rounding errors, can yield diverging incomes for chaotic systems, rendering long-term prediction impossible in general. So sinasabi niya, pag chaotic yung system mo, you cannot predict long-term. Yun yung indication niya. So, what does this have to do with software development? So I'll tell you two stories. Okay? Long before I started O&B, I was working on this project. I came back from the US in 2001. I was working on this project in 2003. No? We were building this, yung first version ng business name registration website sa DTI. And one of the things that was asked for us was, we need to install Oracle 9i, bago pa nun yung Oracle 9i, that's now 10G or 12G, on an HP UX machine. So, for those of you, sino rito yung may DBA background or database background or Oracle background? How many here have some experience with Oracle? Okay? So, if I tell you, I've installed Oracle on a Linux machine, it doesn't take a day. This is just for, hindi naman to production configuration. This is just so that we can install it and users can test it, no? So sabi ko, 3 days. Sa plan natin, let's put in 3 days, that's maximum. Kasi I know I've installed Oracle Linux on a Linux distro on a server in 1 day. Hindi pa nga 1 day yun, it's even less. It's just running software, you just run this script, it will install it, there's instructions in the middle on how to do it. So it should be relatively straightforward. Guess how long it actually took me. By the way, that machine, yung HP UX machine na yon, already had Oracle 8i running on it. So this is just, a separate instance, Oracle 9i. You have Oracle 8i running on that machine already. So how hard is it to install a new upgraded version of Oracle? Ang estimate ko, I put in my plan, my project plan, I had this Gantt chart, 3 days. Tapos nun, there's gonna be dependencies, we're gonna start testing after this, we're gonna install, we're gonna do this and do that. So everything was built on that plan, no? Parang we need to install this software. My target was 3 days. Guess how long it actually took? Mike.
1 month.
Actually close to that. 3 weeks. No? So, bakit? How did that happen? It turns out, when we installed Oracle 9i, it needed a patch from HP. And when HP said, it took a long time for us to figure out na, kailangan pala ng patch. We needed a patch. So we finally figured out, we Googled it, we were able to find it. We asked HP for the patch. So HP sends over a patch. We install it, it still doesn't run. That already took, yung cycle back and forth already took something like 4 days. And then when we install it, it's still not installed. It still doesn't run. It still won't, So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. 8 days later, it turns out they sent the wrong patch. So, okay, we picked the new patch up. And then it turns out, even when they put in that patch, it needed another patch. So all in all, it took 3 weeks. Who here has not experienced that kind of trouble in your project? Na inestimate mo, I can do this in 3 days. I've done this in other times less than that. I've already multiplied by 3, put in a buffer. And yet in the end, I was not able to accomplish it in the time I set. Okay? So that's one story. Another story is, I had this architect and 2 senior guys trying to fix a bug. No? They were struggling with this bug. It was contained in the library that we were using. Was already 3 weeks trying to fix that bug. Okay? So we spent already 3 weeks. We were doing other stuff, but that bug kept sticking around. We couldn't fix it. And it took 3 weeks. No? Parang 3 weeks na sila into it. And then, there was this new guy who just joined the project. He was a pretty smart guy. Comes in, takes a look at it, and then studies it, spends 2 hours, and then fixes it. So, what 3 people were working on for 3 weeks trying to fix a bug, this guy comes in, looks at it, fixes it in 2 hours. So what does that tell us about software development? This is what I believe. Software development is fundamentally a chaotic process. Chaotic siya in the sense na it's very hard to predict for the long term. Okay? So that's the whole point of software development. So, knowing that, predicting long term is going to be very hard. It's almost an impossible goal. So for us to come out with a plan at the start of the project and say, hindi, it will be finished in 2 years. I betcha it won't be. Okay? But, on the other hand, if you tell me, can you finish this in 3 weeks? I can tell you yes. I'm pretty sure I can finish it, barring no major changes. Most of the time, I will finish it in 3 weeks. So, that's the consequence, I think, of a chaotic system. It's very hard to predict long term, but short term, you can get pretty reliable estimates. No? So, long-term plans are pretty useful in terms of setting the direction. This is where we want to go. But if you want yung plans that are useful for execution, the most you can do are short-term plans. Okay? And this is precisely what Agile does. So, yun lang, parang something to think about as we think about what we're doing now. We're doing project development, software development. And now I'll continue by telling you about the story of Orange and Bronze. So, Orange and Bronze was started by this guy. And then he convinced me that we should start a company. So, that's me there. And together, we thought of coming out with a company that basically could do the things that we wanted to do. Because both of us were both software developers. No? We're both in software development. And as developers, we've been struggling and frustrated by software development projects in general. Parang sinong hindi nakaranas nung projects that have failed, projects that have been challenged. No? Very few projects have been successful. And part of that is sometimes, they don't want to use the technology that we think can increase productivity. Minsan parang ang hirap kumbinsihin yung management to invest in the people, in learning new technologies or adopting new technologies, even if it's free. Diba? So we were trying to say, okay, let's start a company, let's do all the best things that we know how to do. And that includes not just the technologies, no, but also the processes. So we started looking at processes. Actually, even before that, I was already interested in applying yung mga agile methodologies like XP, no? So we became strong advocates of XP because we saw in agile methodology in general, no? Because we saw in it the promise of getting better results in our projects. So we said, let's try XP in the Philippines. So we started this company. So what was the situation when we started around 2005? So when we said we wanted to approach the companies and, okay, you want to try Agile? You want to try, there was very low awareness and even much less acceptance in the local IT industry. People said, it's too new, we haven't tried it, we don't trust it, so we're not using it. Most of the local IT communities have not even heard of Agile then. So when you tell them about Agile, parang what's that? No? At least I think the conditions are better today. Most people are aware, even if they're not using, of what Agile is. And obviously, because of their unfamiliarity, it's very hard to convince local IT community to use time and material project models, and they're very fixated on fixed bid contracts with fixed scope and fixed schedules na mahirap i-apply if you're using an agile approach. No? Agile approaches tend to favor time and material relationships. Kasi, di ba, the scope can change as you discover more. So, the relationship has to be flexible. No? You can fix, for example, a date. No? You can set dates. You can set delivery dates. But sa Agile, you can change, you need to be able to change the scope. Kung i-fix mo yung parang di ba yung triangle? No? If you want to fix one, yung time, then you have to be able to adjust the scope. What can we deliver by that time? Okay, so yun yung isang realization. So if you're going to demand na it doesn't matter what you approach, kung mag-agile kayo or traditional, but at the end of this, at the end of 1 year, I need all of these features, patay na yung agile. You have to be able to adjust. Okay? So, we said, how hard, it's very hard to convince the IT industry to do this, to try yung agile. So we said, let's risk it. We'll try a hybrid approach. Okay? Kasi, kausap natin, fixed bid. They have to go through this bidding proposal process, and there's no way for us to change that process, so we have to stick by it. So we tried it. So we said, let's try half agile, half traditional project management. Where sa agile team namin, sa development team, we used iterative delivery, we used agile development practices like writing unit tests, pair programming, readiness to accept yung incorporate changes. No? These are the things that we said, in this case, not everything can be applicable, but some things can be applicable. Diba? But on the other hand, for the client-facing aspects, the customer-facing aspects, we said fixed bid, fixed scope. But not really. There's still scope creep. No? Milestone-based delivery and payment schemes. So you deliver on a milestone, you get paid on this. Okay. Marami kaming pinagdaanan, but here's the result. No? Cost and schedule overruns. Isang example. We had a project, and this was very early in the stage of the life of O&B. A 2-month project, I think mga around 6 people. We estimated, sabi namin, this can be done in 8 weeks. No? So 2 months. Guess what? Took us 15 months to deliver the damn thing. Another example. We took on another project. We said, this is much bigger. So we'll put in a buffer and said, 8 months to. Took us 2 years to deliver. Okay? So, and the client wasn't happy. The team was burned out. We basically lost money on those projects. So I'm admitting to you, may mga palpak kaming projects. And I think that has to do with, well, ang problem doon is we're trying to apply a process wherein there needs to be customer involvement. What we were trying to do was we were saying, let's just adopt the practices like iterative delivery. But at the end of the iterative delivery, let's say at the end of the sprint, pag natapos yon, we were able to build something useful. But the customer doesn't care. Kasi ang iniisip pa rin niya, at the end of the project, I have all the things that I need. And still, on that date, hindi mag-a-adjust yung date. It doesn't matter whether I see it na something's going on early on, na may problema na tayo na hindi ma-deliver yun. Pero, isasampal ko sa iyo yung kontrata. Sinainan mo to eh. Okay? Tapos, ang isang problem pa was, because we were so ready, sasabihin namin, agile kami, if there's changes, let's just put that in the product backlog. Guess what? Yun yung papatay sa'yo. If you're still fixed on this final delivery and you start accepting changes, magkakaano ka ngayon, magkakaproblema ka. You have this conflict between, the tension that actually happens, the reason why Agile works is because the customer is paying for your time. What you want the customer to realize is, if this extends, the development team can be happy because they're always getting paid. Time and material sila di ba? So they better be focused on building the best value. Yun yung realization about Agile is, I remember talking to a CIO for a potential project of ours. Tapos I was telling him, ganito yung Agile, explaining all the features. And then he told me, but look at this situation. In Agile, basically, we have all the risk. Sabi niya. Kasi, kung kunyari, mag-extend, if you, let's say, I have 100 features, and early on, we start discovering na it will take more time to deliver those features, ano mangyari? To get those 100 features, I'll have to extend the project. Diba? So, what happens? I'll pay more. Okay? So, sabi ko, yeah, the risk is all yours. Pero, even in a traditional fixed bid project, actually, the risk is still with the customer. Tinatago lang natin. Parang, I just transfer it to the vendor and hope na if the vendor doesn't deliver, I sue him and force him to give that, yung result na yun. But most of the time, that doesn't happen. Usually what happens is, kung nilowball talaga ng vendor yon, and he can't deliver, he goes bankrupt, you're stuck with nothing. Ang dami ko I've heard and I've been through, yung mga talking to customers, na basically, sinabi nila, the vendor didn't deliver, they screwed up, and wala kami nakuhang useful out of it. So, ang sabi namin, okay, it looks like, in the end, para bang the traditional doesn't work either. And yung half agile, half fixed bid doesn't work either. So what's the thing that was remaining? No? The only thing we could do was the hybrid approach is a half-assed solution that doesn't work. The only thing that works was we had to adopt Agile in full. Meaning, what? Kailangan alam ng customer yon. Hindi pwedeng, fixed bid tayo, tapos Agile process yung team. Especially for internal IT projects. No? Sasabihin nyo, may fixed delivery kami, yung commitments ng, for example, if you're doing in-house development. Sasabihin nila, sige, mag-agile tayo yung team. We'll do all this task board, all these processes. But, from the viewpoint of yung internal customers you like business and marketing, may fixed commitments pa rin kayo, that won't work either. Now, if you're an external partner, na para bang you're doing development for something else, it won't work either. No? Kasi what needs to be done in Agile is the customer has to be involved in making choices that appear as the project progresses. So for example, gumagalaw na yung project and you encounter a risk, no? And you say, ay teka, mukhang hindi namin ma-deliver yung 100 features na yon. I can only deliver 70% of those features. The question that you need to throw to the customers is, what 70% do you need? What 30% can you do away with? And that customer involvement has to happen very early on. Para very early on, hindi siya magugulat sa dulo. Diba? That's the whole point of feedback. Is so that the customer can make decisions so that he can para bang make use of the resources that he's paying for to give him the best value. And parang yun yung realization na, yes, the risk is always on the customer. The risk is always on the guy who holds the money. And what Agile does is, it teaches us, sige, I'm not sure if I can deliver, given this amount of money, I estimate that I can deliver all these features. But even if I'm not sure, at least the money I spent it on was the most important ones. Okay? So yun yung realization ko about Agile. So we adapted Agile in full. We threw out hybrid approaches. We moved away from mga large fixed bid projects. No? We can still do fixed bid, but only for yung mga low risk na maliliit na projects with small scope or defined na yung specs, but relatively maliit pa rin. Even if they say, defined na namin yung specs, ginawa na namin yung 9 months na requirements gathering, nakasulat na to. Okay, no, sorry. Masyado malaki pa rin yan yung risk namin. Let's do one part, maybe. No? And yun lang yung commitment namin. We'll do that. But for large projects, na alam namin na it will take a long time, where the risks are big, we can only do time and material and use yung agile processes. This means that the customer, no, whether it's business, if you're in an in-house development, the in-house customer, like customer, yung business, marketing, other stakeholders, need to understand what an agile approach means. Yun yung sinasabi kanina ni Wes, no? That the customer now needs to be involved. Hindi pwedeng, they cannot be sitting pretty and just expect the software to be delivered to them. They have to work with the team to build the software that they want. So, results, when we did that, was we found our biggest successes from those agile projects. Isang example, the video that was shown a little bit earlier about those two guys talking, they were one of our first outsourcing customers where we applied Agile. And the relationship lasted for more than 2 years. No? And they were very happy with us, even though parang natapos na yung relationship because the company basically had some financial trouble. Pero they were so impressed with us that they said, if we ever start a new company, we want you guys to continue developing for it. So ganun kalaki yung namin sa kanila na they know that we can deliver software for them. And part of that reason is because, syempre, you have good people, but also because we applied the process that worked. No? So now, most of our projects are time and material agile projects. And with a small percentage of fixed bid projects that are small in scope. So hindi naman namin inaayawan na pag fixed bid yan, ayaw na namin. We do take on fixed bid projects. But if you can chop them down to something smaller. And because of that, I think 100% of our long-term clients, yung matatagal naming kliyente, are referenceable. Sabihin they're happy with us. So if that doesn't speak about how Agile worked for us, I don't know what will. So thank you. Ayan. Questions will be siguro ilagay natin after sa session. Thanks.